think if I could possibly find our video.
Ow.
This woman is...
August 28th. What was the date we had Greg on?
Okay, welcome to Funny Talk with Mongelli and Max. I'm Tom Mongelli.
He's Tom Mongelli.
And our special guest today is Jeff Solomondo.
Hello.
Do we want to tell them your Facebook secret identity?
Oh, you sure? Why not?
Jeff's secret identity on Facebook is Jeff Salamander.
Been called that since I was a kid.
And you're talking. Let me make sure. Oh, we are. Here we are.
Of course we are.
Now, I believe I am going to start a... Should I start a watch party? Are you familiar with...
I haven't hosted one, but I've watched.
I think we should start one.
I'm starting one.
Start one. So anyway, today's topic is Bud Abbott. We just had Bud Abbott's birthday a couple of weeks ago on the 2nd.
Yes, we did.
And we have all kinds of birthdays in October. My birthday was last week on the 9th.
Happy.
Bud Abbott shares his birthday with Jack Hoffman of J. Irwin Productions, our sponsor.
We love Jack.
We do love Jack.
If you want a comedy show, write to Jack at jirwinproductions.com for all your fundraising.
Your volume's on. Your volume's still on. You have to hit this somewhere.
You have to hit it.
No, I have to hit this because my Dell computer is broken. The keyboard doesn't work.
Oh, no.
I
Okay.
have to use my remote.
So as usual, we're having technical difficulties.
As usual.
That should be the name of the show.
That would be a great name for our show, Technical Difficulties.
Please stand by.
Every second and fourth Tuesday, Technical Difficulties.
So Jeff Solomondo, tell us your connection with Abbott and Costello.
Oh, my. Okay. I've known Chris Costello for many, many, many years. We've been very good friends. And a little while ago, she asked me if I would jump on board with her to help write the monthly Abbott and Costello newsletter and work on some events. And we formed Lou's Angels. And we go now to Patterson and we host various celebrations such as Bud Abbott's birthday party, Lou Costello's birthday party. We clean up Lou Costello Park every year. So it's a myriad of events and initiatives that basically keep the memory of Abbott and Costello alive. There's so much activity on both ends, on our end and on the family side, that it's a constant thing. So we're in touch every day working on different initiatives and ideas and lots of fun things for people to do and come to that still watch Abbott and Costello and still appreciate the comedy and the people that want to learn about it. And surprisingly enough, there's a lot out there.
Really?
Many young people. Yeah.
Now, you also write for a newsletter.
I'm a columnist for a newspaper here in central New Jersey, the Trentonian. I do a couple of features, a historical feature, a photo feature. So my photography's in the newspaper. I do a column called Numbers Up, which is basically focusing on the people that were executed in New Jersey's electric chair.
Oh, wow.
So there's a whole bunch of different things that are going on, but different projects that are a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay, I'm involved, or I try to be involved with Lou's Angels, but with my work schedule, it's hard for me to get up there to Patterson. It's 2 hours away from me.
But that's okay. Hey, if you come here, if you come there, it's fine. You can be an angel, but you don't have to be there 24/7. It's all good.
Right.
You know, so if you love Abbott and Costello, you're already Lou's Angels anyway. So.
Now in Patterson, are the Angels mostly Hispanic?
No. Oh, good Lord. No. Patterson actually has been very, very good to us. The mayor, Andre, he's a fantastic guy. He really supports Lou's Angels. As a matter of fact, Lou Costello Park just received a $500,000 grant, so there's going to be upgrades and a lot of new events going on over the summer, hopefully, that will gear the community into a little bit of a revival for ANC. So we're really hoping a lot of great things are going to happen with
Now, he probably doesn't remember me, but I knew Andre Sayer back when I was a teacher in Patterson.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kennedy High School.
Oh, Kennedy High School. Okay.
Yeah. And we used to the program that I used to be part of used to host a a fireman's and police officer breakfast, appreciation breakfast every year.
Very cool.
And another breakfast that Andre Seo was one of the dignitaries that used to come.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shows up. We just did Bud Abbott's birthday last week. His schedule was kind of tight that day, but when he came to the park for the cleanup last couple months ago, well, actually in September, I made that announcement formally about the grant being bestowed upon the park. It was a huge day. So I think we're going to work on a promotion. And again, this isn't official. It's just kind of pie in the sky at the moment. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do. Will hopefully coincide the groundbreaking of the changes in the park with Lou Costello's birthday sometime in March. So
Okay.
hopefully we're going to really do a big thing with that.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned that I didn't realize you didn't know that I was a teacher in Patterson.
No, I didn't.
And when I started comedy, I made the observation that Patterson is an Abbott district, and it's the birthplace of Lou Costello. So you can say it's an Abbott and Costello district.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We thought in the beginning, what should we do with Bud Abbott's celebration? Should it be in Patterson? Now, the rumor was he was born in Asbury Park, but he was born in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Okay. So going out to Reading, that might be a little bit of a challenge. Asbury Park was like, huh? And not in a bad way, but they kind of were like, oh, well, okay, what do you want to do? But we just figured, hey, we have a good thing with the Patterson Museum. They welcome us with open arms. We established a little bit of notoriety as far as the events that we do. We have a little bit of a following. And whether it's 100 people or whether it's 10 people, it's a blast. The museum actually has to come in and stop us because everyone's having such a great time and all the people are just like interacting and having fun and laughing and we're watching movies and having birthday cake and acting stupid. So it's always a lot of fun and it's always filled with, as corny as it may sound, love and laughter. There's a lot of love for these guys. And it's
So
really fun.
people that want to be active or get involved or help, they should look for Lou's Angels on Facebook?
Yeah, sure. You can go to the Abbott and Costello page, Abbott and Costello Always and Forever, or you can just email us at lousangels17@yahoo.com, and I'll get back to you. We're working on a bunch of things right now. We're trying to get the Smithsonian lined up with getting Lou's Derby on display.
Oh, wow.
And there's a lot involved in that, but...
I don't know how it came up. Tom and I guess we were talking about Halloween or whatever. I don't know how it came up. Do you know what was on Bud Abbott's tombstone? Did he have anything funny on it?
No, he was
Lou?
cremated and he was scattered
In the
his
ocean.
ashes were scattered in the Pacific Ocean.
I forgot to tell you. I read that after we talked.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So no inscription on the urn, I guess.
I don't know.
Not that I know of.
But it wouldn't have been
And
funny
Lou?
because he's the straight man.
Lou's in Calvary Cemetery with his son and his wife, and they are, I guess, in a mausoleum,
Right.
and it's very beautiful. It's very
And
cathedral-like.
where is it?
Cathedral. I mean, Calgary or Calvary Cemetery in like outside of Hollywood, Los Angeles.
Okay.
In California.
Not
Yeah, he was
around
buried
here.
in California.
And I think
Or interred.
Bud's urn is in a mausoleum as well.
That I'm not sure.
I read something about
Really?
that. Yeah.
Okay. No, I'd have to find out about that.
Yeah.
I was under the impression he was scattered at
Well,
sea,
no,
and
his ashes
Yeah,
were
them-
scattered, but I think they saved the urn in the mausoleum.
I'll have to find out. I'll have
Yeah.
to find out through the Abbotts. Let's see.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I will make note of that. Wow. But yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of interest in them, and we always have a good time, and it's surprising. It really is because we're going. I mean, I'm a little over 50. I'm a little north of 50, and Lou passed away 7 years before I was born.
Right.
So it says a lot. It
You know,
really
it's
does.
funny. I remember when Bud Abbott died.
So do I.
It was
Yeah.
1974, I think.
Yeah, I was 8.
I clipped the obituary out of the newspaper.
Aw.
I remember I was in Central Jersey in Trenton at the time, and we were Fringe Market, New York and Philadelphia, television
Right.
stations. And Bud, Channel 48, on the Saturday cartoons and
Oh,
stuff,
okay.
and there would be commercials. Three Stooges, like I think Mo was still around.
Yeah.
And Larry's 73, 74
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
T-shirts, and then there was a commercial with Bud. I remember that.
Really?
And that was a long time ago, but it was right before he passed away. So
Yeah.
it's kind of neat to see that or feel that you were part of that.
Right.
As young as we were.
Now, most people have heard this before, but when Bud Abbott died, Groucho Marx remarked that he was the greatest
He was.
straight man ever.
He was. I mean, when you think about it, he was one of the only comedians that never intended to make us laugh.
Yeah.
And to pull that off,
Yeah.
that's
And he realized that was his job
yeah.
to put the spotlight on Lou and give him all the yuck yucks.
Absolutely. I mean, you had your comic and you had your straight man, and back in the day, he had to feed him his lines so the physical comedy would line up with it.
Right.
Okay, so the chemistry that they developed was crazy, and not to mention Bud had some physical, issues. He had epilepsy,
Right.
and at time, with an epileptic attack, it can come out of anywhere at
Right.
any time. And it did happen when they were on stage, but they were so in sync that Lou would pick up on it. And
Didn't he
would,
like punch him in the stomach?
Yeah, that's how they
to
would end it. And
get
it was
him
a
out of it?
signal, and he would punch him in the stomach, and the curtain would close, and people would laugh, and he'd be on top of him with a pencil,
Yeah.
between his teeth, and
Yeah.
it's just the stark reality of life.
Thank God they had each other.
They were like brothers,
Yeah.
contrary to popular belief with the fights and the arguments, and they did have fights and arguments because they were like brothers,
I read not too long ago that he never learned how to drive.
I know.
Probably because of the epilepsy.
Well, probably, but too, he didn't
least-
learn how to drive, but he always had a driver.
Right.
And oh God, what movie was it? Was it The Time of Their Lives, where he actually did drive?
Oh, really?
On this set, I think it was, and he had I forget what movie it was. It's not clicking, but he actually did drive a car, and it was a big mess. Teeth baptism by fire.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Now, I had heard, speaking about the riffs between the two,
Yeah.
they obviously loved each other. They were
yeah.
brothers.
Right.
But I heard that back in the early days when they came from burlesque, it was traditional for the straight man to earn the lion's share.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a 60-40 split
That's true.
on Abbott's side.
Yeah.
Then when they started making movies, Lou switched it around. For that, they went to 50-50, and then they went 60-40 to Lou.
Apparently, there was bouncing around back and forth, but like you said originally with the burlesque, the straight man was compensated a little more because he wasn't in the spotlight,
Right.
and that was sort of a bit of an extra compensation,
Right.
because the comic was getting all the glory.
Exactly.
So okay, we'll give you a little more. And as time went on, and you're becoming so successful, and you're American superstars, and you're the highest paid movie stars in the world
Yeah.
in the 1940s.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're gonna stand back and you're gonna say, okay, we're not at the steel pier anymore. Might want to address this a little bit, think it through, and see what we can work out. And they were family. I mean, they were like Chris had said many times. Chris Costello, Lou's daughter, they were like a married couple. They spent more time on the road, figuratively speaking, than they did with their own families.
Oh,
at
yeah,
times,
absolutely.
The Bond tour, so it's crazy.
Speaking of Chris Costello, I know Doug is equally as thrilled, but I am super thrilled. I'm going to finally get to meet her in person
You're gonna fall in love with
on
her, man. She's
Saturday
amazing.
at the Lake Placid Film Festival.
Yes.
They're going to be.
I am looking. I remember when I met Rain Pryor, Richard Pryor's
Oh, cool.
daughter. There was just something because he'd brought me so many laughs, and it just felt, right to be able to thank, get as close as you can to thank them for all those laughs.
Absolutely.
And Bud and Lou brought me. I don't know how many hours I would have spent, probably every weekend growing up. And I'm 63, so
Wow.
every weekend growing up, I'm sure there was a Abbott and Costello movie on.
Sure.
Or if there wasn't, it was the Laurel and Hardy. But it was like that was it. Channel 2, what was it, 2, 4,
Well, they were on
And
11.
5,
11.
7, 9, 11.
48 in Philly,
I didn't-
11, and we had
that was
both.
it. And we had the rabbit ears and had the...
And
you
the
know,
beanbag chair and the pancakes, and I remember sitting there just chomping away and watching.
The beanbag
Yeah.
chairs came when I was in college.
Well, my mother was a holy roller. She was a Eucharistic minister.
Oh, boy.
CCD teacher, and every Sunday was a royal battle. Her trying to get me into the car to go to church while Abbott Costello was still on. I'm like, no.
I was a Catholic altar boy, so
Well,
yeah.
that was the first problem. Abbott and Costello was on. And then the other problem was it was a Honda Civic.
We were an Oldsmobile family. But I was an altar boy. They had to alter my gown 3 times.
You were a growing altar boy.
Yes.
Gosh.
That's a joke. I wasn't
Should
really
we?
an
Yeah, I was going to say, should we let people know
altar- No, yeah.
that was a joke? Because they'll. Anyway, listen. Thank you all the viewers, people that are watching. Jackie, Mike, Susan,
Hey, guys.
Daniel, Mitch, Stephen. Nice to see you guys. Hope we haven't bored you yet. We're talking about Abbott
Yeah,
of Abbott
Bud
and
Abbott.
Costello.
It was his birthday.
Yeah.
It was his birthday when?
It was his birthday, October 2nd.
October 2nd.
Second.
And there's usually a debate of, and it happened on the Facebook page, of whether he was born in 1895 or 1897. And he was born in 1897, although I believe Wikipedia, or one of the major sources, reference sources, quotes it as 95. But we have his documentation and his draft cards and all that fun stuff. So it was his 122nd birthday that we celebrated. So we had to wait a little bit of
That's great.
scheduling, but we had a good time.
I wonder how many people will be celebrating my 127th.
Oh, boy.
birthday.
Close your eyes. How many do you see?
And you have a note. It was whose birthday yesterday? What famous actor?
Oh.
Did you cover that already?
Yeah, yesterday
Or
was.
maybe we'll get him to guess. Give him some clues.
All right, here, Jeff.
Okay, see if you can guess.
Saturday we're going to see Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Okay.
A cast member from that movie
God.
had a birthday yesterday. Who was it?
Oh, my God.
No, I'm sorry, it wasn't yesterday. It was the 20th, 2 days ago.
Don't know. Lon Chaney. I don't know who. No.
He was. I'll give you a hint. He was born in 1882.
Oh, boy.
His first name
Is-
began with a B.
And he's from Romania.
Boris. No.
He wasn't in the movie.
No, I know. I'm just saying. B. I'm blanking. I got like the
First
pressure.
name is also the same name for beautiful in Italian.
Oh, Bella Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi.
Okay.
That was too
sorry.
good of a
So he was an October
See, me
person.
with pressure when I'm like, whoa, is it? It was the same way in grammar school, man. I just like fold like a bad lawn chair.
Really. And also today, is today the 22nd?
Today is the 20th.
It is the 22nd.
Today is Jerome Howard's birthday.
Oh,
Oh,
that was
Curly.
On the Curly's grandson page. Yeah.
Curly from the Three
Okay.
Yeah,
Stooges.
happy
Happy
related
birthday.
Curly's grandson.
Certainly. Yeah.
Curly's grandson was on our show. He's you look for him as Curly's grandson. I think is how he's known. On
Is he still
Facebook.
using that?
Yeah.
Curly's grandson?
Okay, so now you ready for the hard questions, the probing
geez.
ones? Favorite Abbott and Costello movie?
All right,
We
I'm going
went
to
through
get yelled
this
at for
already.
this one.
No.
The war movies are obviously great, but I think one of my favorites is, and it gets such a bad rap, Dance with Me, Henry.
Oh, okay.
I do, because I think it's the last movie they made together,
It was.
and I think it's like a great swan song because it's just nothing but kids throughout
Yeah.
the entire movie.
Yeah.
And at the end, when Lou's dancing down the street like the Pied Piper, apparently, he has all the kids following him, and it was just a terrific way to say thank you.
Yeah.
So all these children, for how they catapulted them into stardom and fame.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you peel back the layer of the onion and kind of look into it a little deeper, there's a lot to be said for that film. I know
Yep.
there's people are like, not my favorite, but I really, really enjoyed it because to me it was a great way to say farewell.
I never thought much about that movie. Like, if you asked me to name 20 Abbott and Costello movies, that wouldn't have been one of them. But last time you were on the show, about a year ago, I think it was,
God.
you mentioned that about the movie, and it made me start to think about it. You're right.
It was, and when you watch it, it's just especially with the priest and the little boy
Right.
and the older teenage girl, it just encompasses the entire spectrum from young kids to adulthood, and just you're talking from the 40s to the 50s, and to me it was again a wonderful way to say thank you.
Yeah, this is a family-friendly show, so please don't bring up priest and a young boy.
I will say that I was one of the lucky ones growing up, so and I'll leave it at that.
As in a lucky one. Okay.
As in our priests.
I
like
know
Charles.
a friend of mine who was a comic did a joke, and I've actually heard it many times that he was never molested.
Never.
And he's like, what did I do wrong? I wasn't, I wasn't good looking enough. I wasn't smart enough. What,
You wore
why?
clothing under your cassock.
Yeah. So, Jeff, did you know, first of all, let me ask you. You probably know the answer. How many stars does Bud Abbott have on the Hollywood Walk of Fame?
Oh, God.
I didn't even know you can get more than one.
Well, yes, you can get more than one. I'm going to go with 2.
I'm going to guess 3.
It's 3.
It's 3, okay.
For radio,
Television
and
movies.
movies.
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
same thing with Lou. He's
Right.
got 3 for the same category.
I keep forgetting about the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking television and movies. But
Do
that's
they
fine.
give him out for stand-up, straight stand-up?
No,
Just
we get.
to-
We get walked on enough. We don't need stars.
You get a half moon.
And I also read just today, I think, or yesterday, Bud received a Lifetime Achievement Award for acting from the Garden State Film Festival, 2006.
That's fantastic, yeah.
And 2009 was inducted to the New Jersey Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
And it's well deserved.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, everything that they've done, and not only in radio and television and movies, but everything that they've done with their benevolence. I mean, as far as what they did for their fans and what they did for the country and all the millions of dollars they raised for the United States war effort during World War II. There's just so much to be said for these two. And my research of this war bond tour, I've been tracking it, and I don't know how they did it. I truly don't. And you're talking about a little over a month of 8 to 13 appearances a day.
That's crazy.
How?
Yeah, I know.
And then when they went from they started in L.A. and when they finally got to like the upper Midwest, like Eau Claire, Wisconsin, they noticed that Lou was losing a lot of weight and he had contracted strep.
Oh, strep.
And the strep morphed into the streptococcus morphed into the
Rheumatic fever,
which ultimately claimed him.
Right.
Oh,
So he actually, in some sense, gave his life for his country, if you think about it.
Yeah.
So,
even if you don't think about it.
yeah, yeah, but it's true, and,
Yeah.
and these guys have done so much. But as time goes on, I get it. You know, things happen, and generations come up, and they come and go. But somehow they still manage to make an impression.
Yeah.
You know.
And they did so much for
Sorry.
They did so much for children.
Oh, yeah.
Not just in Patterson, but in California, athletic leagues and
Well, the Lou Costello Junior Youth Foundation,
Right.
for his son, who tragically passed away before his first birthday. That's still in operation today, 74 years later.
yeah.
So that says a lot. And you know, if you don't know, 3 days before the baby's birthday, Butch, he drowned in the pool accidentally in the backyard. And, you know, Lou's quest was to make sure that never happened again to any child or parent. And with this youth foundation, with the swimming pools, there was instruction and lifeguards, and they wanted to teach all the children how to swim.
Right.
So who knows how many number of lives have been saved
Sure.
due to that initiative, you know?
Absolutely.
But it was always about other people, not like today. It's not
Yeah.
like
I was
today.
going to say, you know, listening, you know, thinking about how great people were back then, making me feel like we're not very good people. Even the best of us. You think of the best people, you know, compared to what the sort of efforts these people put back in. The greatest generation, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's true.
it is true.
Yep.
How
Now,
selfless they were.
I also read, well, there was like a give and take off camera between Bud and Lou. They kind of one up each other. Like Bud opened up a nightclub, and then Lou opened up a restaurant that had entertainment that Bud didn't have.
Right.
But I somebody had asked Bud, why does he keep his nightclub open? Because they don't make a profit. They run in the red. And his response was that so many times that he's been able to hire down and out actors and
Yep.
entertainers, and that's like there was the impetus for him to keep it going, to make sure that those people always had some place to go.
He didn't mind if you know he was in the red, and you're absolutely right. He said, if someone needs a job or if they need a hot meal, they can come here. And I think he said he had more assistant managers on the floor at one time than he did customers in
Right.
the restaurant.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Sounds like some comedy shows I've been
Right.
in. Comedians and
Chris had told me a story one time. We were talking, and she's like, you know, when her sisters were younger, you know, during the war, it was nothing to come home and there's like 3 GIs sitting at the table having dinner.
Yeah.
People would literally walk up to Lou's house. Now, who could do this today without being tackled or chewed up by guard dogs? Walk up to the house on Long Ridge, okay? Ring the doorbell.
Right.
And, you know, Lou would walk to the door. Oh, hey, come on in. You want to go swimming and have dinner? Come on, we're having a cookout in the back.
Right.
And that was just the Jersey in him.
Yeah.
And he raised his children accordingly.
And I think that the Italian half of him, he was half Italian.
Absolutely.
That's a very
was
strong
the other
characteristic of an Italian family.
Italian,
What was the other half?
French,
And Irish.
yeah. And it's hilarious. When you meet Chris, It's funny. I don't think of her that way. I've known her that long, but I just crack up when you think of how this person was raised, quote unquote, Hollywood royalty.
Well, that's why
and she's sitting there in a t-shirt and a hoodie, like, "Hey, what's up?" And it's you're average everyday person.
I remember Chris talking about how they helped them. They didn't want the kids to grow up
Right.
like they were,
Absolutely.
glitterati.
Yeah, they took a lot of efforts to make sure that didn't happen. So, and that's a good thing. That's why they're awesome people.
they're grounded.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
So you have a favorite Abbott and Costello movie?
I always liked The Time of Their Lives.
Yeah, it's fun.
And the war pictures.
What's the war one with the Andrews sisters?
All three of them.
Great.
Did they all have them?
Buck Privates Come Home, and in the Navy.
Okay, I loved Buck Privates.
It was just the three movies.
The
there was the Keep 'em
Frankenstein
Flying.
frightened
Oh,
me.
Keep 'em Flying. Okay.
The horror movie, the one we're going to see,
Yeah.
frightened me, and I might get frightened.
I'll hold your
We
hand.
showed
Doug.
The Invisible Man at Bud's gathering on Saturday, and that went over pretty well. I haven't
Yeah.
seen that in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in ages.
Oh, the Abbott and Costello, Invisible, not the Claude.
Well, it was Bud's birthday, so we should pick Costello on. But it was funny to watch. I hadn't seen it in a long time.
Yeah.
But it's the chemistry between I've yet to see it repeated. Honestly, I
Tom
can't
and I
think.
were working
Cheech
on
and
it.
Chong maybe, but
Tom and I are working on it, aren't we, Tom?
Keep working. Now, when did they move toward the monster themed movies?
Oh God, that's probably late 40s, early 50s.
Late 40s, right? Yeah.
And they just did a different genre. The Invisible Man, that was 51, and I know that was based on the H.G. Wells book. So
Right.
I think that was a kind of a different take. Like, hey, this is kind of really cool. Let's see what we can do with it.
Yeah,
and they
Well,
did
the
it.
movie was out at that point.
Now, didn't they go on in that direction when their movies started to wane as far as?
Well, like Chris has said many times, they were together for so long, so many years. They did everything.
Yeah.
From vaudeville to the, like you said, radio, vaudeville, to being in the movies. 25 years, what more can you do?
Right.
And during the 25 years, you're always looking for, fresh material, branch off in a different direction. Lou would so desperately wanted to be a dramatic actor. That's what he wanted to do, and he did accomplish that before he passed away with Wagon Train, and things like that. But they just wanted something different. And sure, why not? Let's get someone to write up a script. Let's see what we can do. And they just went with it. And for Frankenstein, I think they were a little off. They weren't sure if they really wanted to do it at the time, and that was one of the biggest blockbusters.
I know, right?
But they were kind of unsure. But they ended up doing it anyway, and it seemed to work. I mean, you have some good, some people like some people, like others better.
Right. Now, I read somewhere that what's his name? Boris Karloff didn't want to be the Frankenstein monster in that movie because he didn't want people to laugh. He didn't want his character to be a laughing stock.
Yep. But they worked it. I think they worked it beautifully.
Yeah.
And that's the balance that I kind of don't see today.
And a lot of people don't realize that Glenn Strange played the monster and not Karloff.
No, well, there was some kind of accident. I thought, wasn't there on stage?
Was there?
Yeah, something happened. One of them sprained their ankle or something, and one stepped in for the other, and it turned out that way.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
But yeah, it's I'll have to look it up. But
another thing I didn't realize is that Bela Lugosi only played Dracula twice. In the original, was it 1931 Dracula?
Have you watched that? That's kind of scary.
It is.
But
he played vampires in other movies, but not Dracula.
Speaking of frightening movies, did either of you ever see The Hour of the Wolf by Ingmar Bergman?
No.
If you ever want to see a frightening movie,
The Hour of the Wolf. I'll watch it.
nobody's ever seen it. Hour of the Wolf. It probably is. When did he produce? 30s.
I may have seen it, and I don't remember it.
Okay.
I was big
Hour of the Wolf.
into black and white movies growing up.
Okay, let's not make this a racist thing. Every movie was black and white at some point.
I remember
I grew up. I remember we didn't have a color TV growing up.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we always had color.
We didn't. Not in the early days.
No.
I think it was like the late 70s we finally got a color TV.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of the youngest, the child.
Okay.
So everybody was a lot older and they were still
You
old
have
school.
you have a lot of siblings, right?
No, I have
Oh, you
one.
don't?
My mother had a lot. My mother was the
Oh.
youngest of 6.
Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking.
So all my cousins are like, there's a huge age gap. They're all great people, but there's like a 13, 14-year-old
Wow.
age gap.
Yeah.
You know, they're all retired and doing great, and here I am like,
Now, this Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I mean, it was such an iconic movie. I am so thrilled to be able to see it on the big screen for the first time. It's
gonna be it's gonna be a blast.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. It's so many people say it's their favorite of all the Abbott and
I
Costello
think it's
movies.
probably the most mentioned favorite of their movies.
Yeah, it's a huge testament. Like it's their biggest blockbuster
Now,
apparently.
I heard that they used Lou's the thing with the candle in what was the other movie? Hold That Ghost?
Yeah, there's when they're in the house and they're
Yeah,
going back
yeah.
and forth. But there are a lot of these acts are in different movies, and they were used for many, many, many decades, if not centuries.
Right.
It
And not
comes-
only by them, by other comics.
Yeah, and it was totally acceptable to
Like the-
borrow material.
Like the oyster scene in the soup.
Yeah.
It was done by Curly. It was done by several people.
And no one took offense. It
Right.
was like a bank where you could go into and pull out some material and,
Yeah.
and rework it and rewrite it and do it on your own terms and with your own chemistry. And if it worked, great.
Right.
But yeah, they adapted. They took certain acts and they
They
incorporated them.
adapted.
Yeah, they did. And they put them into certain movies. And
Nowadays, you borrow somebody's premise.
It's-
when you're
yeah.
even in the oh, they stole my bit.
exactly, it's copyright.
Well, in
You-
burlesque, you had stock acts, and they would interchange comedy teams. It was like not a big deal. They had established acts that used to like put your hand in the fishbowl and pull it out, and that's what you're going to do that night.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It kept everybody on their toes.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. Again, with a straight man, many times he would repeat the joke that the comic would deliver simply because it was so noisy that they wanted to make sure that the audience heard what they were saying.
Right.
So that in itself is like, wow, all right. I've never experienced a show like that before. We're all pretty much within 10 years of each other, so
Right.
I know I haven't. But to sit in
I
the
know
steel
most of
pier,
my shows, I can't hear myself even thinking because the audience is just
Yeah, when
they're
you're up
going
there?
hysterical.
throwing their underwear at you and everything. God. How do you deal?
Yeah, and I'm OCD. I don't want
Yeah, you're like,
underwear. I don't want to be ducking underwear.
You don't want to do your act with
Throw
a can of,
sneakers.
the
or
can of
something,
Lysol.
They introduced Doug as the fruit of the loom.
He's got Lysol in one hand and underwear like hitting his head.
Teenage waistband.
They introduced me as the fruit of the loom. They'd introduce you as the loom killer.
Oh, God.
This loom has worked for 10,000 years to make the fabric
that made the underwear that,
that,
landed
that
on your head.
covered the tom.
They when they were Abbott Costello were on doing their war bond tour. They were in Wisconsin, I believe, and they did that. They sold their clothes
Oh, you're kidding.
off their back, which was hilarious. And I actually have pictures that were in the newspaper. And there's Lou in his underwear and undershirt, and,
Wow.
and Bud's holding his shoes up, and it came down to his briefs,
Oh, no.
and everyone was
In Wisconsin?
in Wisconsin,
Wow.
and everyone was going nuts.
Oh, jeez.
And they're like,
Was
people
that
are
a pun?
If I ever toured, though, if I was ever touring this country in the winter, I would want to go with Tom.
Just auction.
Because if the car broke down, just the radiant heat would probably go
The radiant heat.
easily for 8 hours, right?
Uh-huh.
I guess I don't know. What do you
It's true.
think?
It's true.
You two travel together more than I do, I would assume. But he was going to auction off the underwear, and people start going crazy. And they're like, okay, Tom, you got to drop them. And they're throwing money for this pair of underwear,
Really?
which was really what they were trying to get accomplished, to get the war bond, the
Yeah.
dollar value up for the revenue stream. And it came time for him to drop his drawers, and he was doing his little boy thing, and he dropped them right there in front of everybody, and he had a
Wow.
second pair of drawers on. So it's kind of cool. And they took the underwear and they took it downtown into the middle of the commerce section, and they had it in the window of a store. and they had them on display for ages.
They should have put it up on the flagpole.
Yeah, I know.
Tom, you and I should go on tour and raise money for war bonds. Maybe that's our path to success. Maybe we'll pick up where they.
I'll stick with the Girl Scout
All
cookies.
we need is a war.
Oh, they're easy to find.
Okay, we could
Yeah,
sell Girl
really.
Scout cookies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the day, and that's gone.
I'm sorry, I'm going to go off,
Yeah.
and I know you hate it when I do this, but I'm seeing myself taking you out, Tom. And for those listening, Tom is a sizable fellow. We'll just leave it at that. Both more diameter than height. Anyway, so I can see me taking you around, and you'll be wearing a Girl Scout outfit
A girl. Oh boy.
Jeez.
and carrying a bag with cookies. And when people will look at you like they want to call the police, I'll explain that I'm sorry, but my daughter identifies as a Girl Scout.
Didn't the Brady Bunch do that already?
To who?
The Brady Bunch. I'm a little sunshine girl. With
I
Peter.
don't know.
Oh yeah, you're right.
You don't have to wear the skirt. Why I remember that? I don't know.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think that Halloween's coming up. I think that might not be a bad idea.
Do you have
for
an
a Halloween
outfit?
costume.
Do you know what you're going
Not
to be?
yet.
Tom?
I have no idea.
Usually, I look at who passed on during the year,
Oh,
and I'll do
okay.
something a little crazy.
Well, in 1999, I went I went as the Y2K bug.
What? All right.
I was dressed
explain
like
that
a
one.
bug.
Y2K bug? The year 2000? The computer glitch that was going to.
Oh, no. I'm just how did you dress like? it?
I
That's-
just dressed like a bug, like from a Raid commercial, and I had a baseball cap that said Y2K.
Okay, that works.
Yep. It started conversations with pretty girls. That's all I cared about
nice.
at the time.
I think my most offensive Halloween costume was Monica Lewinsky.
Oh no.
Yeah, I won $500 that night in an Irish pub in Trenton.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Were you wearing the blue dress?
Of course he was.
Yup.
Was there a stain on it?
Of course he was.
Elmer's glue works wonders.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it was hilarious.
Well, I had a costume one year. At the time was fine, but now I would be crucified for. I dressed as Mr. T. And my friends dressed as the rest of the A team, and we drove around New Brunswick in a van picking up drunk people.
I would have been there. That would have been fun. That's great. Picking up drunk. How were you finding these drunk people? Just on the street?
Yeah, they would just drive and hitchhiking, and yeah.
Okay.
They'd throw them in the van, and I'd be back there. I pity the fool.
I don't know
with my
who's
gun.
crazier, the people for jumping in the van with
Yeah,
you, or
exactly.
you for picking him up.
Oh, it
Jeez.
was an innocent time back then.
Yeah.
Early
Oh, God,
80s.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I last minute I got called to a Halloween party about 15 years ago, and all I had was a safety vest. I had a boat at the time. I had a safety vest, threw some rope around my neck, just put some red on my. It was a boating accident.
Oh no.
When you have 5 seconds to come up with something.
Yeah, right.
That was something.
Yeah, when you're in college, you don't really care that much. Like I remember my brother telling me he went to Rutgers. He went when he sewed a sock to the back of his shirt and hiked up the pants leg, and he went as Static Cling.
That's great.
I can't remember any good outfits, but I remember a woman I went to a party with years and years ago wore like a nude body outfit. I don't know what you lycra, whatever.
Yeah.
And I wrapped her in saran wrap, and she went as leftovers.
Very nice. I saw a guy at a party we had in school, and he had a black sweatshirt, black jeans. And I guess he went to the dollar store and he bought those dollar Barbies. And he had like 10 of them, and he just stuck them with glue, and he was a chick magnet.
Oh no.
I
would have used Peeps.
Peeps. See? Step ahead.
And they disappear as
Chick magnet was pretty
as the
cool.
night
Yeah.
wears on. So this is a very exciting show we have going here,
It's
guys.
fun. It's always good hanging out with you guys.
Way to bring up the room, Doug. Yeah, I said it's a good show, and then it gets all quiet.
Yeah.
So I know I can't contribute much to the extra. Oh, but I can say hello to our listeners.
Who do we have listening
Who do we
today?
have?
Mr. John Poveromo. Hey, John.
Hey,
John.
Jeff
What up?
Greenberg.
I just did a show with John
Tom
last week.
Blumenfeld. John Poveromo I already mentioned. Tim Eli. Stephen
Hey,
Gadlis,
Timmy.
a wonderful musician.
Steven.
Rhett Server, Coleman Green,
Coleman, my
That's a cool
man.
name.
Catherine Fitzgibbons,
Coleman, 2 out of 3 falls.
Frank, Tom, Jed Fritz Howard. I know him.
Fritz.
Is he
Eddie
related
Gambino,
to Mo
Charles
Howard?
Clark?
Who?
Charles Clark?
Charles Clark.
Charles Clark. He makes the bar.
The Clark Bar.
Clock bar. Well,
Hey, it's a candy reference. I got it, Doug.
So, Jeff, you have any ideas on what Tom and I can do to, like, emulate the great comedy teams like Abbott and Costello and Laurel and Hardy, but with our personas?
Get out of comedy.
could I don't know. Well, they were unique. I mean, they just
We're
had
talking
that.
about us now.
It was all with them. It was all about this chemistry that they had.
Right.
One could sense what the other was going to do before the other one even thought about doing it.
Yeah.
You know, so I think once you get that tight, they would go.
I already have that sense about Tom.
But the time that they spent together too. I mean,
Yeah.
they're on the road and they're sharing rooms and
Yeah,
they're going
right.
over each other's houses and practicing in the basement.
Now, is it true that we're both degenerate gamblers?
No.
No?
What they like to do was they like to do these gin rummy games,
Uh-huh.
and they, like you said, they were always very competitive. Did they like to have fun? Did they like to bet a little bit? Yeah, everybody. You know,
Right.
they throw down some money and play.
which
they
was
weren't
which was
degenerate
very
by any stretch of the
common.
imagination.
Which was very common by most entertainers back in those
But
days.
yeah, men, they were the definitive for the gender role was you're going to smoke a cigar,
Right.
you're going to gamble, you're going to get drunk, you're going to womanize,
Uh-huh.
and they didn't womanize. They were far from drinkers.
Right.
Lou would probably have 1 or 2 drinks and just fall apart, get smashed.
Yeah.
But no, they weren't like that. But they did. They liked to play cards and they liked to bet a little bit. But degenerate, nah. They were. Lou was too family oriented and Bud, well, he was with his wife and established a business and they were doing everything together for 20 years before they met Lou. So
Yeah.
they were very professionally focused, but they did like to have fun. Degenerate, nah.
Yeah.
Did they do some crazy stuff? Yeah, but you got to blow off some steam when you're under that.
Oh,
pressure.
absolutely.
Crazy stuff.
In fact, I read
you
that
aware
they
of it?
used to hire Ronnie Barber to be on the set of the movies that they're filming as they're filming it to help blow off steam, to just cut up the cast.
Bobby Barr, he loved Lou. He
Yeah.
was like, I think he was in love with him like a brother.
Really?
You know, and when Lou passed away, it was his funeral, and I think Bobby Barber was helping people get into cars and doing everything, and the entire caravan took off without him.
Oh no.
And he's basically running down the street after everybody, like, wait. And then he even said, like, you know, even in a different realm, he's still making fun of me and pulling jokes on me, you know. But they were very close. And I read in the newspapers he was very well taken care of and very well compensated for what he did, and he was a great help to them. And yeah, they busted on him. If you look at the blooper rolls from some of the movies,
I was watching.
Oh my
Especially
god!
like the Meet Frankenstein. He's
Smacking him.
following Lugosi down the staircase.
Some of the things that you even see in the movie when he screws up and he calls Bud, and it's,
Yeah.
it's funny. But yeah, Bobby Barber, I think he was an integral part, you know, of them being them at the time,
Right.
and did a lot of work for them. And I think he was made fun of, but he was very well respected. They were all friends,
Right.
you know, and I think he was very valued and cherished, you know, especially from what I read in the old newspapers.
So, another direction. Are you aware of Mr. Abbott's favorite things? Favorite food?
Oh,
favorite performer?
God.
Favorite singer?
You know what? I don't
Favorite
know.
sport?
I don't think he was big into the sports.
Nah, yeah.
You know, not at all.
Is it true?
Playing or watching? Or both.
Either or.
Yeah.
You know, I know he was married young, and he started his own vaudeville, not circuit, but his own show. He jumped onto a circuit. He borrowed some money from an uncle and met his wife a week later. After he met her, they married, and he was pretty much business, straight up business. You know, he didn't adopt his first child until 23 years after he was married. So
Wow.
yeah, and then he adopted his son
So did
and
they
his daughter.
adopt because they were older at that time, or are you aware?
My story, and if this is incorrect, please someone jump in. But my recollection of this is they were on their war bonds and they were in New York State, And one of the managers of the war bond store that was with them found this little boy or learned about him and just somehow introduced him to Bud because they were in the process of thinking about doing this. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of all the stars aligned and it all fell into place. And then they took them they did the proper, they went to the proper channels.
Right.
And then they brought him out to California. And I think he moved in with them in like 42, and they finally adopted him in 44. And then they adopted their daughter a couple of years later.
Now, I didn't learn about the adoptions until recently, but wasn't there a movie that they made with a little girl that they ended up adopting? Something with a horse.
It's not ringing a bell.
No?
Vicky. Could be. I don't remember hearing a movie like a home movie.
One of the movies that they made.
I know Lou's daughter was in a couple of the movies.
Yeah,
she was in the she was in the movie booth when she was older. And
that was Patty?
Carol.
Oh, Carol, right.
And she was in a baby pram in one film. The one where she was in the ticket taker in the movie booth. I think she said something like, you're funny or you're strange, and so is your old man. And running into the movie theater. But I'm not sure. I'll have to find that out if Vicky was actually in anything. Yeah. Could be. Could very well be. But I think Bud was more reserved. He was more of the calming sense between the two.
No, I didn't mean that Vicky was in the movie. The storyline of the movie was there was a girl that
they adopted. Buck Privates Come Home.
Was it?
Little French girl.
Oh, that might have been what I'm thinking of.
Buck Privates Come Home, and she sneaks in.
Yeah.
Coming over.
That's
okay,
it.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant his daughter.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My bad. But yeah, Buck Privates Come Home, and the little girl, that was cute.
Yeah.
She wanted to make a home.
Right.
With her uncles.
Mm-hmm.
So I had another question about Bud Abbott, but I forgot what it was. Yeah, what would you do without me?
Well, there's a lot of rumors about him, so like where he was born.
Right.
Okay, we've covered that.
He was shanghaied. There's that rumor he was shanghaied when he was 16 and, dragged onto a boat and, made to work overseas and all that. That's obviously not true.
Right.
I believe his father worked in burlesque, and school wasn't his thing apparently.
Weren't his parents in the circus?
Yeah. Then circus and then burlesque. His mother apparently was a bareback rider.
Right.
And
which explains the honeymoon.
Oh, I know what I was going to ask you.
Was he?
So, as a kid watching Abbott and Costello, I shouldn't say this because it was his birthday, but I loved Lou more.
No. Well,
and one of the reasons was Bud was always so mean to Lou.
Wow.
Now, Tom and I have talked a lot about, because we argue, but we both abusive to one another.
Sure.
And we're both whatever. But it was very clear. Abbott was the abuser, and poor little Lou would get hurt all the time.
It's a distant memory for me, but growing up chubby, I always identified with Lou. And I often had that animosity toward Bud because of that. Like whenever he would slap Lou.
Did he pick on Lou about his weight?
No.
But he would always,
But he would ruffle him up.
What are you, an idiot?
Well, two things I could definitely tell you two things. Number one, as far as Lou goes and the chubbiness, most of that was all costume.
Okay.
He
was very athletic.
He was very cut and very.
He dressed up to look.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he did.
He was a boxer.
He was a boxer and a basketball player.
Foul throw champion of New Jersey.
Yep. And Patterson, and he was very, very athletic.
Yeah.
He did all the stunts, a lot of the stunts himself. That I could dig up a picture for you. I'll show you later. But there's this one where he's hanging off the diving board at his house, and he's just like, and you're like, really?
You know who else used to do stunts? Buster Keaton. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Harold Lloyd.
That's crazy. But yeah, he really padded himself up. And now when you get older, we all get a little bit or whatever. But yeah, I mean, he actually had to add stuff to his costume.
I was always big growing up, but when my mom died, I gained over 100 pounds.
Yeah, well, that I'm sure.
I didn't think she'd be that stringy.
Oh my God. Why didn't I expect that? Jesus. I walked right into that.
I gave you the signal.
I know. I'm sorry. Oh my God.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, but let's see. That. What was the other thing you were saying? As far as Bud being mean to him.
So did people
yeah.
would fans write and say stop being so mean?
There's this story.
Like
where
why do in the movies and all this?
they did a public
TV
appearance.
shows?
I don't know if it was one of the premieres up in Patterson at the Fabian, and they were standing there, and the kids were all around, and some little girl, I guess she's about 6. And she runs up to Bud and she like slams him in the shin, kicks him.
I heard this.
Yeah, and she's like, "That's for being mean to my Lou." And he had said with the reporters, and he had said, "Look, let me tell you." He goes, "I love that she did that because that tells me that I'm doing my job.
Exactly.
And I'm doing my job really, really well.
Yep.
I'm earning my paycheck.
Yep.
But still, that has to be." Professional or not, part of it has to be like,
right.
like deep down inside.
But you reminded me that kicking story reminds me of a story I think Chris told us when she was on one of the shows she was on about she was a little girl and somebody came over to the house. It wasn't Clark Gable was there with this woman. And somebody was bugging Chris, and I think she kicked him, and Clark Gable came over to her and said, good kick or something.
It's her sister Carol, I think. It was Veronica Lake.
Veronica Lake.
Veronica Lake.
And there was Chris's mother. She wasn't like your Hollywood mother. She did everything. She cooked, she cleaned.
Right.
I mean, it was a big place. They had a little bit of help, but she was the one that really did it. She raised the kids and stuff. And she was putting on a lunch or something, and she had everything all lined out. I think Carol was 4, little. And Veronica Lake was there helping out.
She went to take a piece of cake or something, and Veronica said, "Don't do that.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it." And she was like, "Yeah, boom!" Right, kicks her in the leg. And I think the end of the story was like, "Oh, you're going to get in trouble for that," And she ran, and the doorbell rang, and it was a cop. And for some reason, I don't know if a car was blocking, and she opened the door, and the cop was there, and she freaked. She thought that the cops on her.
The cake police.
Yeah, right. Like, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble for kicking this lady. Yeah, but she kicked Veronica Lake in the knee.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh my God.
And hello, Leon, Andy,
hey,
Stacy, Shay Farrell.
Shay Farrell, yeah.
But it's the stories, and when you meet Chris, you'll I'm sure she'll just entertain you with a few of them. She's so much fun to hang out with.
Now
I'm going to insist.
Oh,
I'm going to tell her.
She's going to have a Q&A before the movie is shown. Is there like an inside question that we can ask her that'll?
See, I have this huge family wedding this weekend, so I'm not going to be there. But I don't.
If you think of any, text us and we'll ask her. Now, Tom and we've prepared for a number of guests.
Ask her how wonderful I am.
How what?
How wonderful I am.
on a 1 to 2 scale.
We don't want to put
on
her
a 1 to 2 scale. Yeah,
so Tom and I have often
walk off stage.
Tom, we'll have guests on, and he and I will talk in preparation for the show, and he'll come out with these odd questions like, he wants to ask people nothing to do with their life, not at all, like.
I don't know.
You remember we've had this how many licks does it take to get to the middle of a Tootsie Pop, or.
I know she likes talking about how her dad really was, like at home,
right?
The type of dad that he was. You know, she made an interesting comment one time, and she said many people ask me about my father and what we talked about as far as his career goes, and she said, well, what 5-year-old talks to their parents about what they do for a living?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't. That's just dad.
Right.
He's the guy that sat down and helped me with my homework. He's the guy that said, you have to do this, you have to do that. Blah,
brought
blah,
me
blah,
for
blah.
ice cream.
But I didn't know that he was sort of like a techie head. He liked to go into the garage and shut the door and make things.
I thought of that.
Like make things out of what?
Like
wood?
ice machines and weird, like this strange stuff, But
he invented and he invested in different inventions.
And he backed it, yeah.
He backed inventions.
And every time you go into a bar or a restaurant and you get your ice out of an ice machine, that's one of them that he actually invested in. So,
Now I noticed on one of Chris's posts about her new podcast. How she's going out on all these different outlets and
yeah, I mean that's a Chris Costello project,
right?
You know what I mean? It's you have your A and C, and then you have Chris doing her ventures. By trade, she's in the travel industry, and then now she's branching out and doing podcasts about people who affect other people's lives in a positive way.
Yeah, but even just the podcast is being shown and broadcast in different types of venues that we have no idea exist. It seems like she's got that tech bug that the father had.
I'll tell you, she's amazing. She has more energy than I could ever muster up.
Yeah.
She is involved in so many different
I don't like
things.
mustard.
Neither did Lou, right? She's involved in the newsletter. She's involved in the writing and the production. She's doing the podcast. She's doing the travel. She's doing the A&C stuff. She does the appearances. I mean, and
Sounds like
A&C collectibles.
and then we'll be chatting, and she's like, all right, phone's on speaker, and she's under the sink, and she's scrubbing a pipe, like, I'm like, okay.
Right? Doesn't that remind you of me, Tom? Every time Tom and I talk, what am I doing?
Cutting the grass.
Yeah.
Cutting the grass, right? Yeah, see? But yeah, so she has a few ventures going on, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I can only hope to have a portion of that energy a few years down the road.
Really?
So that's always good. But yeah, she's always interested in talking about like her dad for who he was.
Right.
I remember the one story I have it's a really strong image of her telling the story of Lou biting into a sausage sandwich and the juice is just dripping. And immediately I thought of Jimmy Buffs because that was when I was a kid. I didn't know this at the time. When we were kids, my father would it was a big thing to go out to eat, and we'd go to Jimmy Buffs. Little did I know that Jimmy Buffs was regarded as fine a food as a White Castle.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I loved it.
What I like about him, though, it's like when you look at the family pictures or what have you, he's like every uncle we've ever had here in Jersey back in the 70s and 60s. He's sitting in the backyard. He's got a pair of plaid pants on. He's got striped socks and loafers with shorts. Plaid shorts, striped socks, loafers, and like a Hawaiian shirt.
Right.
And he's just like,
I should dress
Whatever.
like that for Poughkeepsie, for Lake Placid.
for Lake Placid. Yeah, just like Lou in the yard.
Now, what I'm wondering about is when Tom and I go to Lake Placid, will it still be placid?
I don't know because I'm not going to be there,
I
unfortunately.
want a video.
At our age, it's more like flaccid.
No, what you should do is you should like do the whole agony of defeat thing, like find where the Olympics were and do that whole ski jump.
The agony of the what?
Remember this ABC Sports in the beginning, the credits?
Oh, the agony of
the thrill
defeat.
of victory and the agony of defeat. That thing is still there. That ski jump
Yep.
is still up at Lake Placid, apparently. I think.
Yeah.
And
From the
you should do the ski
1980s.
jump.
Tom, would
the agony.
it be wrong for me to think of sending you down the ski?
No, I think we should
ski
take
jump?
my shoes off and film the agony
You
of defeat.
should do the thrill of victory, and then he could do the agony of defeat and just like stop. And instead of like the Olympic banner where the guy skis, actually, and God bless him, I hope he wasn't really hurt.
No, it's what it is. It's the thrill of victory, and then
the
Tom
agony.
goes down,
Right.
and he's rolling down the ski slope, and he rolls over me with the caption, "The agony of defeat,"
rips down a Mongello and Max banner.
which reminds me of a great joke.
You know a great joke?
Yeah, I do. A woman's, oh, the agony, oh, the ecstasy, oh, the agony, oh, the ecstasy. What, Mrs. Cohen? What's the matter? What's the matter? What's the agony? What's the ecstasy? Oh, the agony, oh, the ecstasy. What, Mrs. Cohen? What's the matter? What's the matter?
And the
My
punch-
my daughter's gonna leave my home forever. But if that's the agony, what's the ecstasy? He's a nice young doctor.
Boom.
Okay, I could have made that like 20 minutes long, and I
You actually did.
So you guys are heading up there. You're gonna for the whole weekend, or
We're going up Friday, coming home Sunday.
nice?
And
But Tom will be. I'll be driving. Tom will be in the right seat. So we've mapped it out. I think in order to get to Poughkeepsie,
it's
with
not
the weight
Poughkeepsie,
on
it's
the
Lake
right side,
Placid.
we've got to aim. I'm aiming for Pittsburgh.
You should just stop in towns and sell war bonds. Like just set up like a little booth and just start selling war bonds.
I love it.
Photocopy them from like 1942. Get the little books, the stamps, and just out of nowhere, and stop in different towns and do it and get the
I'm
reaction.
a little afraid where our country is going to actually get into a war, and I'm afraid we're going to get into a war to kind of distract our country from other things that might be going on.
Well, instead of war bonds, I just do a GoFundMe.
Or just do ring dings or something.
Ooh, ring dings. I haven't had a ring ding in years.
Tom, we could do a GoFundMe. Send Tom and Doug to protect the United States, and we'll go to one of the areas.
No,
How about we go to the Middle East?
No, we go to the border of Mexico, and I'll stand in the void that they haven't finished building the wall.
I was going to suggest
It's
that
100 miles, Tom. Okay.
you retrace the steps that Bud and Lou took on their war bond tour, which I'm doing right now again, which is insane. But they paid for that themselves too.
I
They took
believe
their
it.
vacation time and they funded the entire thing.
I
Tom,
believe
would
it.
you like to go on a war bond tour with me?
No, but thanks for asking.
But do you know when I was
White
following
Castle's
it,
all you want.
Oh, maybe.
I actually contacted hotels and stuff that they stayed at
Really?
that I read about in the newspaper,
Okay.
and they still the people that answered the phone, we have an Abbott and Costello suite, and it's
Oh,
still
wow.
here after 60 years and 70 years, and the one woman went up and took a picture of the door with the Costello thing on it 70-some years
Wow.
later. I'm like, what? So even though it was that long ago, some of the towns are so small that they really they
Mayberry.
idolize it, and they
Yeah.
just think of it as one of the nicest things that ever happened in their town.
Yeah.
Like the Mayberries and stuff, and
Uh-huh.
that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
They had did you hear the story real quick about the little boy in Omaha? They went to Omaha, and they had a thing with the governor and Lincoln, and some little boy, Jerry Young, I think he was like 12 or 13 years old. He snuck up into their hotel suite with two of his friends, and he said, they let him in, and he said, I put on a show for the Red Cross every year in my backyard, and he said, I want you to perform. And he said, I have 35 cents for each of you.
Oh,
So it was 70 cents to bill Abbott and Costello in his backyard. And it was Bud who said, all right, kid, you sold us a bill of goods. They actually went to Lincoln. They came back, and they went to this kid's house, and they put on
Holy
a
moly.
show. 2,000 people in the street crammed into this backyard.
Can you
2,000.
imagine?
And the kid paid him. He earned $270-something to the Red Cross, and he paid them their contracted wage of 70 cents. I think they were making
That's
$7
funny.
grand
Yeah.
a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that was the kind of people they were,
well,
though.
any
you know?
comedy producers listening, I'm all work for 35 cents.
Yeah, really.
I often work for cold pizza.
Okay,
But
so
speaking
our
of
show is
working,
technically over, Tom, but
We're coming to a close. I just want to mention some of the shows that I'm going to
I
be
think
on.
you should mention some of the shows you're going to be on.
First of all, this past weekend I performed on the same stage with Gilbert Gottfried, a dream of mine come true. I think aside from Lou Costello, Gilbert's probably one of my favorite comics. And on Saturday, November 2nd, I'm going to be working with Jim DeLakis, who's an excellent impersonator, funny guy. I'm going to be at the Boundbrook Moose Lodge in Boundbrook, New Jersey, with Jim and Kevin Goatee and Joey Novick. Then Friday, November 8th, I'm going to be at Reds in Carlstadt, New Jersey, vying for my old win of the America's Stand-Up Comedy Championship. I'm going up against Rated G, who's the current holder of the belt.
Okay.
And
Don't make him cry.
I'll try not to. And Saturday the 9th, the next day, I'm going to be at Uno Pizzeria and Grill in Maple Shade, New Jersey.
There you go.
So looking forward to that because there's
Very
pizza
nice.
involved.
And tomorrow I will be at White Castle because I've mentioned it enough now.
He's going to get a free burger.
We're doing an event November 3rd at the Patterson Museum, and it's going to be the War Bond Tour. We're going to walk people through their stops and what they did. And they also found a loving cup that was dedicated and written out to Lou Costello in the 40s. It was presented to them in Patterson when they wrapped up the War Bond Tour. And somebody had it in his garage, and it was full of paintbrushes.
Oh, I
No.
remember that hearing that story.
And he
before.
read what was on it and kind of freaked out and took it to the museum, and they cleaned it up, and we're going to have a dedication ceremony.
Now,
for
what
the
day
cup,
of the
so-
week is November 3rd?
Saturday, I believe.
You guys do everything on Saturday. I work until 3.
Saturday or Sunday?
If it's Sunday, I'm there.
Yeah, okay, then it's Sunday. I'm so used to doing everything on a Saturday myself, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But it's the 3rd of November.
Happy birthday, Bud
Happy
Abbott.
birthday,
birthday, Bud Abbott.
We
Thank
sing,
you.
close out, and sing happy birthday to him?
Sure.
Or do you have more shows?
I don't like to sing. That's why I do comedy. And if you heard me sing, you know why.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday,
dear
Bud
Abbott.
Happy birthday to you.
How old are you now?
All right,
122.
all right. 112. All right, well, you've been watching and listening to Funny Talk with Mongelli and Max. I'm Tom Mongelli.
I'm Doug Max.
Jeff Salamondo.
And we're signing off. Thanks for tuning in, and tune in 2 weeks. Thank you.
There. Now we're off. Okay.
What's your hurry?